Laysara's Summit Kingdom. Think about Anno 1800, but instead of different islands with different fertilities, you're going to have different sides of the mountain with different fertilities again. This game has released into early access, but don't worry, this is already definitely ready to play. I have already played quite a bit of it. You can find in the video description below, the full playlist. But today I want to dive into my top 10 tips to survive and even win all of the challenges like I did. So let's dive into this incredibly satisfying puzzle city builder. Now, tip number 1 is that when your treasury gets to 0, you lose. The game is done, it's over. You won't lose if your balance gets into negative, but if your balance is negative, your treasury will get, from whatever it's at right now to 0. So you have, a couple of minutes, you can pause of course, but you have a couple of minutes to solve the problem, to get your balance back into positive. At the same time, every time you want to build a building, it's also going to cost you money. So for example, this one over here, the bath, right, will cost me some upkeep, 25 of upkeep, but it will also cost me 50 as a construction cost. So if your balance is in negative, you're going to build new buildings to solve it, right? To put it back into positive, for example, increasing your productions, that's going to cost money. So my first tip here is before you make any big changes to your city, make sure that your treasury is full. And to do this, quite easy, right? You want to have your balance in positive, and then you can go to speed 10. That will replenish your treasury from whatever it's at to make it full. And then when it's full, you can go back into, pause or 1 speed, and then change your city. For example, build some new buildings or whatever it is that you need to do. This way, you have a lot less chances to get into a soft lock where you don't have enough money to build the productions that you need to build to actually solve your problem, or get too quickly into that 0. So obviously, definitely money is important, because if you don't have money, you're gonna get to 0. So how do you get money? Well, as you can see over here, in your total revenue and total expenses, there's a couple of different things. So there's different ways to get money, but the big one for sure is the donations. You can see over here, I'm getting almost 3,000 from donation. I'm getting 0 from exporting good or money minting. You could obviously do those things too. Exporting good is obviously exporting, to another district, to another city if you wish. Your surpluses, and money minting is a production, but donation is definitely going to be the main things that you want to do. So donation will be with these donation spots. So again, make sure you don't get into a soft lock, because it's gonna take some people and some money to build this thing. But yeah, you want a donation pot everywhere you have people. Over here, reading, we can also see that every lowlander and monks only donate 2, while an artisan will donate 3. So if you already have enough workforce, at the top over here, you can see my workforce for the 3 tiers of population. If you have already enough workforce, build more artisans. They're gonna give you more money in general. And make sure that you also keep an eye on this not collected donation at the bottom there. Right now for me it's only 100. It's basically mostly, I think, those 2 houses over here. You can see these are the only 2 houses that are not in range of my donation spot at this point. So you'll basically need to balance, how much would it cost to get those houses to donate by either building another donation spot, moving them, or by upgrading your roads. Because if you go over here into roads, you have 3 types, right? Dirt road, the template road, and the paved one. Now, the normal one costs money, but it doesn't cost maintenance, right? It doesn't cost upkeep, versus the other ones will cost money, but also upkeep. As you can see, the paved one is 3 of upkeep per tile, so that can quickly go up. You can see that in this current city over here, it's costing me around 350 of road upkeep. So tip number 3 is don't upgrade your roads right away, just upgrade them when you need them, and also, upgrade where you need them. So for example, over here, you can see in the city, I have a mix of all type of road, right? I have over here, in sort of like main road, this is paved. Similarly over here, right, it's sort of a main road, this is paved. But then I have also some smaller template one, and then I even have dirt roads where it's not needed, because for example, if you look over here, this is already in range of all of my houses, so I didn't need more ranges. But we could upgrade a bit over here. So for example, I could do this here to start upgrading a bit, and now we can see that these two I think are in range now. Can check it over here. Yeah, not collected. It is 40 instead of 100 now. So I have gained 60, and my upkeep I have only, lost, if you wish. What was it? That was 43, so 17. Right, so that was positive. That was positive. Now there's still one, so I could continue to upgrade again a bit, but again, don't upgrade the whole thing. You just have to upgrade enough for it to be in range. So I can see my range right now is ending over here. Pretty sure it's actually gonna be quite hard to get all the way there, but let's see. If I get all the way over here, it is still not enough. So we're gonna need to make basically almost the whole thing. Now, hopefully it is. Nice. So you can see not collected, now it's 20. There's still one house somewhere that I missed. Oh, it's this one over here. And this one, it's basically already paved. So again, tip number 3, only upgrade road when needed, because that's going to give you quite a bit of road upkeep. Tip number 4, another mistake that I've seen many make is making one city per tier of population. They're gonna say, oh, over here that probably should be my lowlander city. Then maybe over here I'm gonna make an artisan city. And then on top of the mountain I'm gonna make a monk city. Now at the beginning of the game you definitely shouldn't be doing this. And even at the end of the game sometimes it doesn't make any sense at all. For a couple of reasons. The first one is going back to money. All of those buildings that you're gonna need for each of the city, they will cost you money, right? A market, for example, is 25 of upkeep. We just saw that a donation spot is 50 of upkeep. You will probably need also a commodity supplier, which is 50 of upkeep, right? And many other things. And so all of those quickly add up at the beginning of the game. So instead, it is fine at the beginning of the game to have all 3 tiers around, all of these. I have over here only one market, only one donation spot, and only one commodity supplier. That's providing for my lowlanders, for my artisans, and for my monks. And this works because all of these tiers of population, they may have slightly different needs, but they also have overlapping needs. Right? So for example, in this map over here, you can see the lowlanders, they lack eggs and tampa, and my artisans, they also lack tampa and egg. They only get 1 point from eggs while the lowlanders get 2, but they still want it. And similarly over here, the monks, they get also 1 point from egg and 2 from tampa. So why should I make, 2 or 3 markets when I can just have one market to supply them all? So tip number 4, at the beginning of the game, keep just one city for all your tiers of population. Tip number 5 is a big one. For your barley farms, you want as much as possible to make long lines like I did over here. For 2 reasons. The first one is that with those lines, you're not going to need roads for all of those farms. Usually you need a road for every single building, right? This needs to be connected to a road, this needs to be connected exactly. But this one over here, you can see, this is a barley field. It is not connected at all to a road. So that enables you to do a lot of different things, right? You don't have to connect them to a road as long as one of these farms, on this line is connected to a road. You just need one. And then the second reason is that with this line like this, you're expanding the range of that farm by a lot. Basically what will happen is that now all of these farms, they have the same range. So basically this barley farm completely on the left, if this was the only farm, it would have a range. I can actually show you, let's do it live. Right? If we look at this farm over here, it has a range that goes a bit on this side and a bit on that side, but it definitely cannot go very far over here. Versus now, right, we're going to place that back. And now if I click again on this farm, you can see it can go all the way over here and all the way over there. It is now connected everywhere. And similarly for that farm on the complete opposite, on the right side, right, it is also getting the exact same range. It can go all the way here, all the way there, but it can also go all the way over here at the bottom. And again, if I delete this one here and now they are not connected anymore, this stops, right? It can only deliver here. So again, try as much as possible when you want, to have farms to connect them all the way like this in a line. Tip number 6. If you have played the game, you know that research is critical. When you start, your research level is 0. And because it is 0, many buildings are actually locked. If you look over here at my prosperity, for example, the only thing you can do is copper. Everything else is locked under a certain research level. For example, ale is locked under research level 1. As soon as you get to level 1, you unlock this one. On the other hand, for this map, tapestry is at level 6, right? And you have also these ones over here. The decorations, for example, are at level 1. The yak race is at level 2. And similarly for food, by the way, you have a bit more that is unlocked by default, but many are unlocked way later. And same for enlightenment, right? It comes way late. Like for example, the yak guardian is at level 5. Now, how do you get research? Well, there's basically two ways. One is the academy that will provide you 1 research level in exchange for some monks and some upkeep, while then you have the monastery that will be able to provide up to 3 level, can provide 1, 2 or 3 depending on how much resource you give it, because it's actually going to need painted cedar, so there's a production chain that is needed to get you those research level. So the tip here is you don't have to put both of these. You could also put, if you wanted, 6 academy, or you could put only 2 monasteries if you wanted, right? The reality is you will have to put 1 academy to unlock the monastery, but once you've unlocked it, if you want, you could also delete the academies. So basically, you can put multiple of them. And in particular, what I actually like to do is usually put multiple academies because they don't cost that much, right? It's just a bit of upkeep and monks, and they don't need a production chain, and also they don't need to be close to your population. What you will probably do is you want one that is close to your monks because it will give 2 of value need for the monks with the first one that you give. But then if you put a second academy next to it, it's not gonna do anything. So for example, I have one over here, another academy that is bit linked to nothing, but I could even move it. You can move it if you have space to the end of the map there, right? You just need a road, so let's build that road, and now I am still at research level 2, and then I can even build another one, as long as I have a space. You can put them in the corner of the map that you don't really care about. Maybe you put them where you have a lot of avalanches, right, or something like this. So yeah, tip number 6, remember that research is key, of course, and that you can place multiple academies. It's not like you have to put a monastery, but on the other hand, if you want, you can also put 2 monasteries and get 6 research right away. Tip number 7, please don't be afraid to rework your city. I mean, as you can see, space in many of the missions is gonna be very limited. This is definitely what I call a puzzle city builder. This is a city builder where space is very limited and you have to be very smart on where you place things. But at the beginning, you don't really have a choice. At the beginning, you haven't unlocked much. As we just discussed, your research level at the beginning is 0. You haven't unlocked anything. You don't have a lot of workforce. You don't have a lot of money. So at the beginning, you'll basically have, to make a small city where everything is close to each other. Even your production, like your food, will probably be in range of the market. You will probably not have any carrier post or card post or anything like this, and everything will be in one place. But then you get, your first research level, your second research level, you're gonna unlock some of those things. You need to start specializing your city. What do I mean by specializing your city? Well, first and foremost, in my opinion, is you need to start moving the production buildings out of your city and put them somewhere else. So for example, over here, you have so you keep one place for all of your people and you keep one place for all of your productions. This way, that will enable you to fit as many houses as possible into one market, one donation spot, one community, and also all of the other buildings like mandalas or inns, right? You can have one that's going to serve all of your people at once. And for your production is the same. It's going to start enabling you to specialize, for example, having one long line for your barley field, like we just discussed, putting all of your eggs or chicken farms into one place where they can then go all into one card post, and the card posts then will deliver to the food market. So you start specializing your productions too. Now there's gonna be probably small exceptions. For example, you know, the mine, the copper mine, you don't really have a choice. It is over here on this map, on another map it may be somewhere else. So, you know, you don't really have a choice. It's gonna be here, and then you may want to just do it on site. It may take less space than moving it across the map and back. This is also when you may want to start specializing your city. In particular, the monks, you know, they tend to have quite different needs from the others. They need a lot of enlightenment, and they also get a bonus if they are in the high zone. So this is when you may want to, you know, start making a monk's dedicated city that's gonna be at the top, where maybe you also have, you know, monastery walls. This is this one over here, right, which you're gonna probably want, you know, to do something like this all across, you know, that top part that you have, right? And then you're gonna put all of your monks inside this. Now these monastery walls do cost upkeep, right? It's 1 per wall, so that can quickly increase. So make sure again that you don't build that right away. You build it when you have already a good foundation. You already have quite a bit of these artisans. So to recap, tip number 7, be ready to rework your city. You can easily move any building, so don't hesitate to use this functionality, right? Or even to destroy and rebuild, because as long as you have money, right, you can just wait for your treasury to go back up. Tip number 8, let's talk about transport, and in particular how card posts are, in my opinion, really good. So as I said at the start, you'll probably have your chicken farm so close to your market. I don't really have any space. I mean, let's build something over here. You know, you have your chicken farm over here, and you're gonna have your market somewhere over there, and then that's easy. The chicken farm can deliver directly to the market and you're good. But as we just discussed, that's taking space close to the market where you'd rather put people. So instead, you're gonna want to put your chicken farms quite far, and then you're gonna want to transport it to your market somehow. Right? Now there's a couple of ways to transport resources, to extend, if you wish, the range at which your resources can be transported. You have the carrier post, you have the cart post, and you have the yak post. Then this one, the trading post, is more to trade outside of, you know, your city, either to import or export. So we're not going to talk about this right now. Now these are not unlocked by default. They will require research. As you can see, for example, the yak post is already research level 3. So that's actually one of the reasons why I'm not a big fan of the yak post. The other reason is it takes monks, versus the cart post is going to take artisans. And remember what we said earlier is that artisans give you more money. So I'm rather, you know, put more artisans and put more cart posts than yak posts usually. But the good thing is, you know, a yak post will definitely enable you to carry a lot very far. Then a cart post will also enable you to carry a lot very far, but to be able to carry a lot very far, it will take a lot of artisans. Basically, you have, you know, 8 artisans just as soon as you build one. But then the more you transport and the more it's far, the more it's gonna take more artisans. So for example here, the brewery, you know, is just transporting 7 ale to the inn. It's taking me an additional 9 artisans. Versus for the egg farm, it's taking actually 28 eggs all the way to the market. So it's taking me 42 artisans on top. But again, you know, I mean, I have quite a lot of them, and so that's not a problem. You know, I have 600 of them in a city like this. So cart posts are really good, and they're really good for 2 things. One is, as I said, transporting far away. The other is to make sure that you are the most efficient possible. Now, to be honest, you can also be very efficient with a carrier post. For example, over here, look at this. This mine, this copper mine, is producing 4. I could definitely tell the copper mine to go directly to one of these coppersmiths, right? It's in range, it's not far ahead. But a copper mine is producing 4 and a coppersmith is only using 1. So what I'm doing now is my copper mine is sending all 4 to this one, and there's only 1 that's being used. So it's not, you know, the productivity is only 25%. Versus instead, if I send this mine resource, this 4 copper, to the carrier post, then I can ask the carrier post to deliver 1 to each of these coppersmiths, and then they are all at 100% of efficiency, right? There is no waste whatsoever. It just requires one of these carrier posts or one of these card posts to be able to do the split, because all of the production building, like a copper mine or like a chicken farm, are only able to send to one place, versus these, you know, carrier posts are able to send to many places, as many as you want. The only difference between the two is a carrier post has a very limited range. So it works well over here where I have all buildings close to each other. It doesn't work, you know, when you want to make it on a different part, either over here or also to the top there, right? It doesn't work to put one of these carrier posts, which is only taking lowlanders. You will have to take a card post, because the card post can deliver as far as possible. It just takes a lot more artisans. Tip number 9, let's talk about production chains. Some productions are obviously a lot easier than others. I mean, if we think about the eggs, for example, it's just one building, one lowlanders, 5 of upkeep, and it's producing my eggs right away. Versus on the other hand, over here, if we look about the butter tea, right, it's gonna require multiple buildings. First, there's a yak shack that is already, you know, requiring multiple things. Then we need to transform, you know, the milk into butter, which is another buildings, more workforce, more upkeep. Then we're also going to need an herbalist, which is now taking monks on top of this. We're gonna need also salt, which is not even available on this map, so I need to import it now. And then lastly, putting all of those things into a butter tea brewer. So you also need to transport all of those things into a butter tea brewer. So obviously at some point we will have to make butter tea if we really want to get our houses to the highest level. But obviously at the beginning, start with the simple ones. For example, eggs for food or tsampa are pretty easy. Also the honey, right? It's only one building. It's not that hard. But I'll also extend, you know, to the other things like prosperity. What I always do, for example, is as soon as I get to research level 1, I put some decorations, right? This is just one building. There is no production chains or anything. It takes a bit of upkeep, of course, but it's gonna satisfy, you know, this need for decoration, which is 2 for these artisans. It's also 1 for, it's also giving 1 to the lowlanders and 1 to the monks on this map. Right? By the way, these needs also do change from map to map. Sometimes it may be 1, in another map it may be 2. So do check that out, you know, before you start having your full city done. You can easily see all of those things, right? It says over here that, for example, the smoked meat is going to give me 2, versus the incense is only going to give me 1 for those lowlanders. While for the artisans, it's also giving me 2 for the smoked meat, but 2 for the incense, right? So you can plan with all of this. And that's tip number 9, is don't just also go for what's the simplest, is look at what's going to provide you the most. If I think, you know, over here about eggs, for example, eggs are giving me 2 for these guys, but it's only giving me 1 for the monks and the artisans, while the tsampa is actually 2 for the artisans, 2 for the monks, and 2 for the lowlanders. So I should probably do tsampa first on this map before the eggs, even if, of course, tsampa is slightly more complex because there is 2 buildings, but hopefully you get the gist. And then last but not least, should you upgrade all of your houses as soon as you see this upgrade button? No, you shouldn't, because when you do this, you may get into a situation where you don't have enough production. You know, the higher the houses, the more they require in terms of consumption. In this case, for example, you can see that my consumption of cheese is 30.7 and I'm only making 30. Right? Similarly for the eggs, because we deleted 1 egg, right? It's not great. So what is happening because of this is I have multiple houses that are requiring house relief. So while upgrading, you know, some houses will give you some more donation, if you don't have enough of the resources, it will also create this negative expense, which could quickly be higher than what is being brought. So let's look at this example, this concrete example. I am making right now 1038 with a house relief of 160. So look at what will happen when I upgrade it. We're gonna go from 1038 to 1015, because while the donation have slightly increased, the house relief has increased by a lot. So we're losing money. Now we can solve this, of course, by giving more production, right? So I could now create 1 more of these, send it to the card post, and now we should see that, you know, eggs is fine. Now we're producing enough eggs, 31 out of 30, and so, you know, the house relief has decreased by a lot. So of course, at the end of the day, you want to upgrade your houses as much as possible, but before you do so, make sure that you're ready to actually provide the necessary resource. The reality is, what you can always do is, you know, if you have upgraded too many, like over here, for example, right, it went down again, I can just delete this house and rebuild it, right, to the level that it was just before. It's fine, right? I'm back to it. But still, that costed me a bit of money, so that's not so great. And again, to do this, make sure that you use, you know, the food market. You can see exactly the consumption of food, the community center. You can see all of the community needs, right? All of those type of things you can clearly see. And even you can see the houses that are requiring relief, right? This is the house over here that is requiring relief because it is not getting something. In this case, for example, it's not getting cheese. So as soon as I give more cheese, you know, I will get to a satisfaction level that is enough where it won't need monetary relief. So it is, we've covered my top 10 tips for Laysara Semi Kingdom. It does take a bit of time to prepare those videos for you all, so please smash the like button, share in the comments if you have any other tips for everybody else, any things that you're struggling with the game, and I hope to see you next time.